Well, good morning, everyone. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So we're going to be doing a Wild Wednesday tour of Searam State Park. This is a beautiful state park north of Houston, and it's right. Oh, no, you don't want me to know
No,
north of Houston?
we're south of Beaumont.
Oh, okay, south of Beaumont. You don't want me to. Okay, it's south of Beaumont, and it is right on the coast. And it has seaside access, has overnight sites. It's got a beautiful pier that leads out to the beach, so you can do birding there. You can enjoy those beautiful sea waves, those beautiful sea breezes. And we're going to get a lot more of that information from Madeline. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our host for Searam State Park, Madeline. She is wonderful. She knows so much about her park, and I can't wait for her to tell us more about this beautiful place.
Yeah, so I'm Madeline Martin. I'm the park interpreter here, which means I'm in charge of our education, our outreach, our volunteers, all that kind of good stuff. I've been with the park for about a year now. Excited about that. Just passed my anniversary back there in February. So excited to tell you things about the beach. So, like we said, we're here to talk about Searam State Park. This is the view over our dune boardwalk looking out onto the beach. So here's where we are, and we're down here. This is Houston. You can kind of see, this is Beltway 8 right here. Can you see my mouse? Can you see what I'm pointing at?
Yes, I can.
Please. So this is Houston over here. This is Beltway 8. Up here is Beaumont and Port Arthur, right here. This squiggly line is the border between Texas and Louisiana, if that tells you where we are. So you'd come down here. This is Highway 87. One thing that is important to note about people coming to our park is Highway 87 does not connect anymore. It used to connect. You could come down here. You could drive straight from Port Arthur down through to Bolivar and take that ferry over to Galveston. You cannot do that anymore. It was taken out in 1989 by Hurricane Jerry. It's still listed as a detour. It is the longest standing detour in the United States. And so it still shows up on a lot of paper maps and stuff like that. So we get people coming through all the time saying, we're on our way to Houston. We're like, oh, honey, no, you're not. So to get to Houston, you have to come back out here up 82, take 73 to I-10 to Houston, or to 124 down here to get to that ferry in Bolivar. So it does not connect. This road dead ends about 2 miles further down Searam. So our visitation, a lot of this visitation comes from the Beaumont, Port Arthur area. They are our local metro, so that's not surprising there. Our second biggest place that we get a lot of our people from is outside of Texas, especially in the winter times. The beach is popular with snowbirders. Come December, every other camper, we get people from Quebec, we get people from Ontario, Minnesota, Michigan, New York, all those northern states want to come down here and just chill and relax on the beach so they don't have to deal with the snow where they're from. That is also where we get a lot of our park hosts. We have, let's see, we just lost our ones from New York and we lost our ones from Minnesota, but we love and adore them. They come down here, they bring a lot of new things. Economic impact back in 2019, $569,000 and $5,609 and $22 economic value, 10.5 jobs, 22,971 sales tax. We do have 93 overnight sites. We'll go into those later. This 1,790 annual educational contacts was before I was hired. I am the first interpreter here at Searim State Park since it got destroyed back in 2005 by Hurricane Rita. I got about half those education. We are working up our educational context. We're getting a lot more robust programs here. We're getting our good programming schedule going. So hopefully when this report is done again, those annual educational contacts will be much higher. 7.3 miles of trails does also include our Gambusia Nature Trail, which is no longer with us. We are rebuilding that, but that was a boardwalk that went through the marsh that we no longer have. We do still have the beach, about 5 miles of beach that people can walk up and down. And this does not include our 11 miles of paddling trails. We are quite popular with kayakers and paddlers and things like that. Going into our fee schedule, we are one of the cheaper state parks at only $3 per adult, and children 12 and younger are free. For our campsites, water electric hookups is $20 a night, plus that day use. Primitive camping is $10 a night. Floating campsite, which you'll see down here on the bottom right. That's in the middle of the marsh. Fun times all around. $15 a night. And our cabin is $95 a night, plus a $50 returnable cleaning deposit once we verify that you have not burned the cabin down while they were there. Here's our big map, our trails map. This does show the entirety of the park here inside this good woobly bit right there. This is what happens when you have a, what is that, a bounds kind of mapping system. But this is 4,000 acres of marsh, and it is the majority of the park here on the marsh unit. It is entirely inaccessible to foot traffic, except for this little part right here. All of this is going to be accessible by boat only. People are not going to be able to come out here into these areas and recreate. It is marsh, it is standing water all around. So you are going to be able to recreate here on this side of the park. This is our beach unit. Coming into the park, you will pass the marsh unit first, off here to the right-hand side of the road. Down here is the boat launch, the cabin, the dump station, our maintenance yard. But then over here, we do have the main attraction of our park that most of the people come out here for. Here's headquarters. This is where people stop to check in and all that kind of stuff. You can either turn right into the camping loop. This is all of our 15 water electric sites and down onto West Beach, or you can turn left into the day use loop out here with our access to East Beach. So the common questions people ask us when they come here: can they camp? Can they swim? Can they go kayaking? What kind of birds do we have? And can they fish or crab? So for camping, going into our campsites, there were those 15 water and electric campsites that you saw in the loop. This is a picture of that camping loop. This is site 14 right there with site 7 behind it. They have both 30 and 50 amp hookups as well as water. The one thing they do not have is sewer hookups. We've had a lot of trouble with hurricanes and stuff like that, so we don't have any sewer lines on the beach side of the park. That's all going to be, the only place we can have that is on the marsh side of the park. So there's a dump station over there on that marsh side that we talked about. We also have campsites out on the beach if they want to primitive camp out there. We say there's 75 spots. They're not defined. Just like you can see these people set up right here, there's no numbers, there's no anything like that. As long as they stay on the water side of that line of trash cans we have out there, 6 feet away from the grass and vegetation so that they're off the sand dunes, they can set up wherever they like. Only on East or West though, we do have that central area that's no cars, no camping, just day use. The thing that people have to be careful about with the beach camping is they have to call ahead. Availability is dependent on the tides. We do check that daily. It's something we have to do. Sometimes those tides get up too high, they get into the grass, and there's no place for people to camp out on the beach. For instance, right now, too high, can't camp on the beach. We're thinking that's going to open up this weekend, but we never know. And then here's that cabin again. It sleeps 6 people. We'll get a better look at the inside of that on our little tour around the park later. It is ADA accessible. It's got a ramp up to it from 2 different directions, and the shower inside is ADA accessible as well for people who use mobility aids, all that kind of stuff. You do have to bring your own linens for the beds, for the bathroom, and cooking and eating utensils for the kitchen, which it does have. The floating campsite. Honestly, I think this one is really fun. I have not personally stayed out there. I kind of want to, but the floating campsite is about 2.5 miles out on our kayaking trails. It is only accessible by boat or kayak. We do rent our canoes and kayaks out to do that trek. Normally, for people who want to canoe and kayak out here, we have a concessionaire, but we have an agreement with the concessionaire that us here at Sea Room will rent the canoes and kayaks for the floating campsite, because there's no way that they could change that to register that that's what that's for. So complications abounded there, but well, we still rent our kayak canoes out for the floating campsite. You do have to get here for people who are looking to camp on that floating campsite before the end of office hours. We do have to make sure that people who want to go out there have a bucket, a 5-gallon bucket, and they have the correct enzymes. They have to have solid waste enzymes, a little bag full of enzymes to go out there so that we know that they're not dumping waste out into the marsh. So we do need to physically set eyes upon those supplies to make sure that these people are prepared to go out to the floating campsite overnight. If the visitors do not arrive before the end of office hours, they do have to go camp out on the beach for the night. They cannot go out to that floating campsite without checking in at headquarters first. For swimming, we do get a lot of people concerned about the conditions of the tides, of bacteria and stuff like that. So up at headquarters, we do have our tide hazard level flags. Right now, can't tell because I'm inside a building, but we do have a high hazard surf right now. It's kind of windy, kind of rainy. We got it's not the best weather outside right now. So that is high hazard. And we do have the purple flag up. That is for stinging marine life. We do have man-o-wars washing up on our beach at the moment. Not very much, just like 1 or 2, but enough to still have that flag out so that people are aware that they are present. And then the other thing that we have for people is our beach watch. We have 7 test sites that some people from the Texas General Land Office come out and test twice a month. Those results are publicly available at texasbeachwatch.com. And we have these red and white pylons right here that you can see mark each site. So if you go on to Texas Beach Watch site, it is laid out like a map. You can see each site. It's either going to be green, yellow, or red, depending on our bacteria levels. And then you can say it's like, oh, this one's yellow, but down here it's green. So we're going to stick to this side of the beach today. And we do have a warning sign outside of headquarters. It looks like this sign right here. You can see a little lock here at the top. If we do have a site that says, high bacteria levels, it's dangerous to go in the water, this part unlocks and it folds down, and it has a warning hazardous bacteria in the water. And we'll make sure that's right up by headquarters, right under the stop sign. So everybody sees it. Everybody knows that there's something to be aware of on the beach that day. For kayaking, like I said, we have 11.7 miles of paddling trails. That launches on the marsh side of the park, which is pretty much, like I said, the only thing we've got on the marsh side of the park at the moment. There is plans that I'm not allowed to talk about, but we are looking and doing something on the marsh side of the park. All trails are there and back. We don't have any circular trails. There's only the one canal going out. But our kayaks are rented through that concessionaire I mentioned, and that's a picture of that down on the bottom right. We have 3 small single kayaks, which are the blue ones, 2 large single kayaks, which are the top green ones, 1 fishing kayak, which is the green and white one that has a couple extra bells and whistles on it, and the 2 tandem kayaks. Those are rentable between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Outside of those hours, that machine does not operate. You cannot rent a kayak. You can always return a kayak. No matter what time of day it is, this concession will always accept returns, but these kayaks are not outfitted to go out at night. They have to have lights, they have to have multiple things to go out at night, which they don't have, so kayak rental is locked between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. And it accepts a bunch of different types of, cards. You can pay with your phone, anything like that. It does not have cash. So there is no cash stored in this kayak concessionaire. That's for security reasons, because it's over there unmonitored. Don't want anybody breaking into it. We are very popular with birders. We get a lot of birders, especially right now. We are coming into peak migration. Right here on the Gulf Coast, north of the Yucatan Peninsula, we get a lot of birds coming through on their way up north. It's honestly pretty fun. There was a couple of days ago, Baltimore Orioles. The only thing in the park, Baltimore Orioles. Everywhere we look, Baltimore Orioles. And then the next day they were gone. They were just here for a day, just passing through, little flock of Baltimore Orioles. Now they're up, I don't know, in Baltimore, doing Baltimore things. We have a couple of different resources for people who want to come out here and bird. On the left side of the screen, you'll see this is our bird checklist. It's got these birds on the front as well as birds on the back. It's for people just starting out who may not know what they're looking at. So it has about 20 of our most common birds that you'll see here in the park. 130 species in our Christmas 21 bird count. Very fortunate to have some people out here who would go out and check that for us. We just recently had some people come through to do their Great Texas Birding Classic. We have currently 4 nests in the park that we're monitoring. We have 2 nighthawks and 2 Wilson's plovers. We've also seen least terns and killdeers nest in the park. These pictures right here on the screen are both of common nighthawks, and that is because they are the only bird that sits still long enough to let me get good pictures of them. So that top one is over at our maintenance yard. That bottom one is in the middle of our roundabout here up by headquarters, and that's her little baby. They're so cute. I love them so much. We're a beach, we're a marsh. We got a lot of people out here looking to catch fish, catch crabs, anything they can do to put some food on the table. So we are here to help them out with that as many ways as we can. Because we're a state park, our visitors do not need a fishing license to catch fish or to catch crabs inside the park, whether they're residents of Texas, people coming in from other states, anything, as long as they have paid their entrance fee. If they hold on to that little entrance pass, that'll be their fishing license for the day. If they get stopped by game wardens, anything like that, they can present that entrance pass and say, I caught this at Searam State Park, and they are good. So we do want to help them out as much as we can. We have introduction to shore fishing, which is going to happen the first Saturday of each month, starting in May through October. So that's going to be this Saturday coming up in 4 days? I can't count, but yeah. we're going to have that here. Very excited about starting that up again. We're trying a new format. Hopefully this one gets a lot of more people interested in shore fishing, but and then we're going to have Crabbing 101 on the third Saturday of the month, May through October, teaching people how to catch crabs, teaching people how to catch fish. Just something to get these people out and about, doing something they haven't done before. Maybe they put some food on the table. Anything, we're happy with it. And to help with all of that stuff, we have a lot of things that people can check out at headquarters. We have fishing rods, crab nets, and line. So when people come to fish or to catch crabs, the only thing they need to provide themselves is the bait. Our fishing rods are set up with surf fishing leaders, so it's easy to do that. And we have leaders out for in the marsh as well. So depending on where they want to go catch their fish, we have rigs for both of those. Crab nets and lines. The only thing they need for that is the chicken. We have binoculars for those people who want to go catch birds. Lovingly provided to us by our Port Arthur Convention and Visitors Bureau, as well as that bird list you see right there. That was also donated to our park by the Convention and Visitors Bureau there in Port Arthur. We're really excited about that. We're, really grateful for them to all the stuff they do. Convention and Visitors Bureaus are the best. Thanks, you guys. And over there on the right, we have our Junior Ranger backpacks. So we have about 5 of these backpacks. They're filled with those little plastic guys that you see at Walmart that says, birds of Southeast Texas and the Gulf Coast, saltwater fishes, snakes, wildflowers, dragonflies, tracks. That Fun with Nature book has a bunch of little activities that people can do out there in the wild, has a little binoculars and a little magnifying glass, as well as a sketch pad and some twistable crayons if you want to do some nature journaling. And a lot of people get it in their heads when I call it the Junior Ranger backpack that this is just for kids. Honestly, there's not an age restriction on these. Honestly, I would be so happy to go out with all of this stuff, because sometimes you want to come out here and do the beach and not worry about anything, but sometimes it's fun to know what you're looking at. So anybody who comes through the park, I would be perfectly happy and honestly very excited to see anybody checking out these Junior Ranger backpacks, going out, exploring nature, getting up close and personal with it. So don't let the junior part of the Junior Ranger scare anybody away. These backpacks are for anybody to check out. For our big programs that we have during the year, we have, the shore fishing and the crabbing class going a lot of times, but for the big programs that we have, our most one that's coming up is Kids Fish. That's coming up at the end of July, on July 23rd. We have honestly, the biggest turnout to any of the events that we have is Kids Fish, where we've had maybe 300 kids come through. Each kid that comes through gets a fishing rod and a t-shirt, and they get to keep that. That's all theirs. They get to come compete. We'll have a couple different stations set up. We'll look for the longest fish, the smallest fish, the heaviest fish, and we have one that's just for sportsmanship, and most fish caught. That's the other one. Just, having a fun time, getting kids out. It's free admittance to the park. Children 12 and younger are always free, but this time their parents get to come in, get to help them set up. We have a lot of help. Anybody who needs somebody to walk along with them, they've never fished before, their kids have never fished before. We have a lot of volunteers here helping out, getting kids associated with that program. And then the other one we have is a Very Marshy Christmas. That's fun. That's in December, the weekend before Christmas. We have Santa and Mrs. Claus come into the park by airboat. And we take pictures, have crafts, have cookies, anything like that. And Adopt a Beach. The Texas General Land Office has 2 annual Adopt a Beach cleanups. We just had one down at the beginning of beginning of April. I can't remember my months, but yep, picked up. Since we've started keeping track of it, there's a new system they've done, but since we started keeping track of it, more than 6,000 pounds of trash has been collected off of Searim State Park Beach. So really grateful for them to organizing this and helping us get all that stuff. And we can't talk about Searim without talking about the hurricanes. So this is January 1996. This is the most recent one that we have before Hurricane Rita comes through in 2005. So this wrecked the park. It did push a lot of water, wrecked the sand dunes, all that kind of stuff. This park did close down for 3 years. Here's kind of post Rita in that middle stage. They're starting to rebuild. At this point in time, the park is still closed, but they're starting to, you know, get some of that stuff together. And we were about 2 months from opening. We were almost there when Hurricane Ike comes through. Hurricane Ike was a category, Hurricane Rita was a category 5, but Hurricane Ike did much more damage to the park specifically. So we see here all of this sand. You'll see here all of this kind of sandy bit, grass bits. This is our sand dunes. This is what helps, you know, keep the grass, keep the sand on the beach. It protects us from a lot of stuff. And you'll see there's not, it's all grass. That's all gone. All of that is gone in the wake of Hurricane Ike. And all of these deep furrows carved into our beach come from receding waters, not from water coming in, but from the water going back out. It completely changed the face of the park. Hurricane Ike did. And this is what we look like today. You can see it's this part in here is different. Now we have all of these ponds. Honestly, that's where a lot of people like to go crabbing, but we have all of these ponds now. Just the entire profile of this area of the land was changed by Hurricane Ike. Now we're going to get into the video bits. This is our volunteer Deb, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about how to catch some crabs. We get a lot of questions about how to catch crabs, so she's just going to give us a quick rundown on crabs.
Okay, crabbing 101. To go crabbing, all you need is line, a net, and a bucket. Cheapest, easiest way to fish. I recommend a heavy line, a piece of wood, because then if the crab runs away with your line, the wood floats and you can get it back. The heavier line is better because the crabs can't cut it. Fishing line, a lot of times they can cut, and there goes your bait, and you end up and she's little, but you can still see the belly, and you can see the beginnings of nail polish on her claws. But this is an immature. She's a baby.
And I do kind of apologize for the audio quality there. It was a very windy day. I do have a transcript for that available if you want to know what she's saying. Hopefully we can work that into the subtitles of the YouTube video when that goes up, so that we can understand Deb better. But yep, this one should be good.
Hey guys, it's Ranger Madeline out here at Searim State Park. I thought for this little virtual tour we'd start at one end of the park and go to the other. So right now we are in our little cabin area. So this is the screened in porch on the back. It's got a picnic table, a little privacy fence around it, a grill out here on the back, and a beautiful view of the beginning of our paddling trails. So if we come here onto the inside, we got Rich. Hello, Rich. He's getting it ready for our next visitors. Over here in this area, we have the kitchen. It's got sink, oven, stove, microwave, fridge, freezer. Got a coffee maker and a toaster over there for all your culinary needs. And here, the restroom. Our shower is accessible for people using mobility aids. It's got that seat and everything. Yep. And if we come back here, we see it's all kind of one big area. This is the table. And then this cabin sleeps 6 people. We have 2 people on top, 2 people on the bottom, 1 person on top, total of 6. Heading outside here. This is over here our kayak kiosk. So we do have a concessionaire doing our kayaks here at the park. We are out of that business. So if anybody wants to rent a kayak here at the park, they would come over here and you can rent it all just right here from this kiosk. It's got a little card reader and everything. It's got 3 single kayaks, 2 big single kayaks. This green and white one here is a fishing kayak. So it's got a couple extra bells and whistles on it. And we have 2 tandem kayaks right there. If you come over here, you'll see these lockers. These are where the paddles and the life jackets are. And then you come over to the other side of it. Here is that card reader. So it takes all kinds of stuff. And then there are the rates for the kayaks. They would launch right here, right out into the marsh. And we have 11 miles of paddling trails. We have easy, medium, and hard. they're all going to be out and back. There's not any round trip kayaking trails, but yep, good little area. So this is the marsh side of the park. A lot of people don't come over here. Most of the people that come over to this side of the park are the kayakers. We got a lot of people coming out here for duck hunting and stuff like that. And out there in the middle of the marsh, we do have our floating campsite. So we do get a couple of people coming out to camp in there. But we think it's a really special little side of the park. And we would love to share it more with you guys. Rich? Rich? Come on, it's time to go. Come on, let's go. We'll come back. We'll come back for this.
We'll do it later?
Yeah, we'll do it later.
Do it later?
Come on, we'll do it later.
All right, that's later.
Yep. We do have a second boat launch here on this side of the cabin. And there is a restroom over here. Got a couple of cool things. That is a weather tower thing that is operated by the National Oceanic and Aeronautics Association. It talks to us about wind speeds, high tides, all sorts of data that NOAA could want to use. So yep, not a lot of traffic here on this side of the park, but we do still enjoy having this side. Over here on the left side, that white building is our maintenance yard. That's where we keep all of our stuff. And then right here on the left-hand side, that is our dump station. We do get a lot of people asking about that. Our dump station is on the marsh side of the park, not the beach side, because we get way too much water over there to have sewer lines on that side. And then also on this side of the park, you'll see those rigs back in there. Those are our park host sites. We have limited space over there on the beach side, so we do have our park hosts over here with us in the maintenance yard. A little bit different from other parks in that regard. So all of these tall reeds you see here are Phragmites. They're common reed. They're not super great, but they are what we have. So this here was the self-pay station for the marsh side of the park. You do pass the entrance to the marsh side of the park before you pass the entrance to the beach side. So if you want to come in here first, do some kayaking, get some boating in, do stop at that self-pay station. It's $3 per adult. Children 12 and under are free. So if you have cash or check, you can do that. If you've prepaid online, if you would write that reservation number on the pass number side, and if you have a park pass, that is also where that number on the back will go, in the pass number spot of the self-pay ticket. So we're on Highway 87 right now. This is the road that used to go all the way down to Galveston, well, to that ferry in Bolivar. That was taken out in 1989, was it? 1989 by Hurricane Jerry. So this road dead ends in about 2 miles. And if you can take either that left onto McFadden Public Beach or right into McFadden National Wildlife Refuge. Some people will still come down here and ask, they're trying to get to Houston, they're trying to get to Galveston, and we're like, I am so sorry. You are so far out of your way. This road doesn't go through anymore. So now that we've driven that 3/4 of a mile between the beach side and the marsh side, we're gonna take this left here. We're gonna come into headquarters. That's an old pickup. I respect you, good sir. So here is headquarters. You wanna stop in and talk to Marissa. This is where you come, you check in. You get your day pass, you get all your stuff like that. If Marissa wants to say hi to us. She is not paying attention. Marissa! Hello! So this is where we go to check in, to get your day passes, get camping checked in. This is also our little concession store. This is where you can get firewood, ice, water, tchotchkes, anything like that, and where you can check out those binoculars, Junior Ranger backpacks, fishing rods, crab nets, crab lines, all sorts of goodness up here at headquarters. Bye, Marissa. So when you come up here, you can either turn right, which is what we're going to do. Right here is our self-pay station for the beach side. So if you come in before 8 or after 6:30, that's where you would use that self-pay unit. We got restrooms over here, and that is also the parking lot that you would park in to take that boardwalk right here over to Central Beach. Central Beach is the non-driving beach, so people with families, people with little kids, people who want to just set up and not have to worry about all the cars driving by, I would recommend going out to Central. You're on a camping loop right now. We have 15 water and electric campsites. They have 30 and 50 amp hookup water, and people ask sometimes, do they have to be in an RV to camp in the RV sites? Nope, no you don't. Whatever you have is, yep, they're in a tent. They're just chilling. And that one that had the tent at it, that is actually site number 10. That is our reserved site that we keep set aside in case anything breaks in any of these other sites. Yeah. Nice camping loop. That there is the access road that'll take you out to West Beach. West Beach was about a mile long. It depends on who you are, what you're looking for out of your beach experience, what beach people like best. If you want to go out west, West Beach is about a mile. I'd say there's less like debris out on West. Not necessarily trash. Our beaches are pretty clean right now. We've been really fortunate with our park hosts. They've been keeping them near spotless. But East does have more like seaweed, some driftwood out there, some more debris that's washed up from the ocean out on East. West is cleaner, it's smoother. If you want to just have a good day at the beach, I would say West. If you're looking for birds, for seashells, want to do some good beach combing, I would send you out East. That is our old headquarters building. We are getting rid of that sometime in the next couple of days, I do believe. That will be going away, and we'll see what we do with the rest of that. This one here is our law enforcement building. Our superintendent, Nathan Lundenberg, and our park police officer, Elvis Hernandez, might be found there at any given time. Over here on the left, we have our fish cleaning station right there, as well as our rinse-off showers. Those rinse-off showers, as you can see, are not fully enclosed, and they are not heated. They're pretty much just there to help you knock the sand off before you get going back to your home. So this is, in this part, our day use area. We have a couple of picnic tables out here, a couple of waist-high grills. This is where you'd head out if you want to sit down and have lunch or anything like that. And we do get a lot of people catching crabs out here in the day use area. It's a little low right now. The water's a little low for catching crabs, but ooh, people do still try. They'll be over there behind that restroom in those ponds, and they'll be out here next to the entrance to East. They catch some decent crabs. Over there on the left, you'll see the entrance to the Gambusia Nature Trail that is no longer with us. About 2 years ago, some people say it was taken out by a storm, and the storms definitely didn't help, but the Gambusia Nature Trail was just old and we had been patching holes in it for too long, and it got to the point where the underlying structure was unsafe and we had to take it out. We are putting it back. We are definitely planning on rebuilding it. Always looking for opportunities to get more materials, get more money going towards that Gambusia Nature Trail, but it is definitely a work in progress. People ask us when we think it's going to be done, and we really don't have a good estimate for that, but it will happen someday. One day. Those bollards over there, those bollards over there are what separate east from central, and there's another line of bollards on the other side of central. So that is what keeps people from driving out onto central.
And on that note, I think I'm going to stop that there.
All right, then, that was awesome. Thank you. So we're going to go ahead and move on to some of the questions. Thank you for the presentation. So one of the first questions that came in was, Elizabeth had some people ask, can bicyclists use the 87 for, let me rephrase that. Is 87 passable by bike?
So not 87 itself, where the road like actually was, I don't think so, but you can, it is public beach that entire way. I know Jeeps make that run a couple of times. There's some tricky terrain kind of in the middle there that I wouldn't say any car could go past, but Jeeps do it. I don't know about bikes. I mean, I bet you can, especially with something like a mountain bike. I'm not sure how like long that tricky stretch of terrain is, if it was something that could, you know, be easily passable by bike, but I bet you can.
Okay. The next question is, people are asking about the beach, if it's open or closed.
So we did have to close. I do see it here. It says, the website says, beach camping is closed right now. Our tides are too high. We kind of expect that to open up back up this weekend. We are going to still have high tides, but they're going to be in the middle of the day. So overnight should be fine. It closes. East Beach is the one that we do have to close every once in a while. If we get some good rains, part of that changing profile of the beach means that recently, last year, that profile changed again, and now that marsh drains into the ocean right there in front of the access to east. So anytime we get some good rains, that road washes out and we can't have driving out there. You can always walk out onto the beach, that's always fine, but you can't drive onto east after a good rainstorm.
Okay. So it's just the overnight that's currently closed, but days
Right.
perfectly accessible.
Yep.
Okay, then. Any other questions? One of the questions just got answered via chat, but I'll reiterate it for people who just to hear. It was, is the park/cabins pet friendly? And the answer to that is pets are not allowed in state buildings. That's all Texas state buildings. So that includes our cabin, but the park overall should be pet friendly, and I'll leave you to speak about that.
It is. People come out here with their dogs, their cats. Sometimes I've even seen them wash out on the beach. And that's one of the things I forgot to mention. We are horse friendly. We do have some people come out here to ride their horses on the beach. They're not allowed in the paved areas into the water electric campsites. But if people want to come out here, offload their horses onto the sand, if they want to camp out there, do the primitive camping, we do have horses as well. And of course, service animals are always permitted, and you can have your service animal with you in the cabin.
All righty then. Okay. So we have a question on how many full hookup sites.
There's 15 with water and electric. We don't have any with full hookups, with sewer hookups. We have a dump station.
All righty then. How often is the floating campsite booked?
I'd say a couple times a month. It's definitely not consistently booked. But you know, the more people are hearing about it, the more they think about it. One thing that we run into a bit more often than we'd like to is people misunderstanding the floating part of the floating campsite. They think that their reservation just floats around to whatever site is available, and then they come here in an RV not expecting to have to boat out to their campsite. So that is one thing that we try to stress to people when they're talking about the floating campsite. It is floating on the water. You do have to boat out to it.
All righty. So we don't have any more questions coming in. So I'll ask you, what's one of your favorite sort of experiences at the park?
So I think one of my favorite experiences at the park is my parents coming to visit, because that was the time we have horses. And so we brought our horses out here on the beach, rode around for a little bit, and then camped overnight out on the beach, which is the first time I'd actually stayed overnight here. And we woke up the next morning and the sunrise was beautiful. I took so many pictures, and I was showing them to the superintendent who lives on site, to our maintenance ranger who lives just down the road from here, and they're like, yeah, that's what sunrises look like here. I'm like, but you guys, you don't understand.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Well, it looks like that's, oh, we have one more thing. Is there anyone that can help identify some of the things visitors find on the beach?
Hey, hello.
All righty.
Yeah, so sometimes I work the desk up at headquarters just because of how our staff is at the moment. But I'm always reachable by radio, by phone. So anybody who comes up to headquarters, they can always ask me. I'll be absolutely delighted to help figure out what anything is on the beach. We had somebody come through recently, pull up this absolutely wild conglomeration of something that was clearly biological, but we did not know what that was. And we sat there, you know, working through it together, trying to figure out what we could be looking at. We figured out it was the gill structure of a shark.
Ooh.
It was wild. That thing looked like it had teeth, which threw us for a little while, but it was the gills of a shark.
Wow, that's cool. Well, I think that's it for our questions. So I'll go ahead and close it, get to our closing statements. So I'll hand it off to Thomas to go ahead and give the close.
With that, it looks like we're done. So I'm going to say thank you to Madeline for an outstanding presentation. You did a great job. Thank you so much. I think we got a really great feel for the park. As always, Aaron, thank you for organizing and leading. And for our attendees, thank you for being here. We will see you again next month.